Begin with the growing movement to arm police departments with body cameras. Supporters say it will protect citizens and police alike, but have cops signed on themselves to this revolutionary change to policing? TV 1055's Carolyn Gussoff profiled one police department that's already embraced the technology.
A featherweight body camera clips to Officer Kevin Hassel's uniform. As he approaches a speeding car, he switches it on.
The reason why I'm stopping you doing 54 in a school zone, it's 20-mile-an-hour zone.
Sorry, I have my baby in the car and she's very cranky.
When I'm working and I stop somebody, you know, it not only protects me, it protects the people who I'm dealing with.
He's one of 95 Freeport officers, the first municipality in New York State to make body cameras mandatory.
It's a win-win. It's for the public as well as the police. It instills trust in the police department. It's transparency and accountability.
With calls nationwide for body cameras as a deterrent to police brutality, Freeport police say in 1 month they've seen hostile encounters diffused because police and the public know cameras are rolling.
There have been several instances already since they've implemented them where people come in and prepared to file a complaint, and we said that we have body cameras and just prepare these paperwork, bring it back to us, and they've never come back.
Get on the floor! On the floor! Like face down! Face down!
A hammer-wielding assailant brandishing a weapon caught on camera. So are contentious traffic stops.
I can't get blamed for nothing I didn't say or do, you know. I know what I said is being recorded.
The Freeport PBA, though, is not fully sold.
If an officer is not worried about the crime in progress and he's more worried about turning on the camera, he could be killed.
Other departments are watching Freeport closely. Dashboard cameras have been in use here in Freeport for 15 years, but cars don't go everywhere police do. They're now required to turn on their body cameras with every public encounter. In Freeport, Long Island, Carolyn Gussoff, TV 1055.
And joining us now is James Carver with the Nassau PBA. Welcome to the show, Mr. Carver.
Thank you, Rich.
Well, you know, we saw this pop up in Nassau County now. You just saw Freeport being profiled, and they've had it for a while. Now Nassau County wants to have a pilot program. Where does that stand right now? And, you know, you kind of said, wait a second, explain that.
Well, what happened here is that the county executive, along with the acting police commissioner, Crumpter, announced that effective August 1st, they're going to implement a pilot program on cameras. The problem becomes is that they haven't spoke to us. We're not opposed to the body cameras and the concept, but there should be a policy in place. There's a lot of issues that need to be vetted out before you start this.
Okay, let's talk about that, because this is like a growing tidal wave. We've seen dozens of police departments around the country now using body cameras, and they're being ordered up virtually daily now. You say you're not opposed to them or the concept. What do you mean by that when you say the concept? Sounds like there might be some room there for you're not being too sure about this technology.
Well, the whole thing is it's our opinion, our attorney's opinion, that it's a mandated subject, that they have to negotiate that with us. The department has another view and says they don't have to mandate. What's interesting here is there's an organization called PERF. It's a Police Executive Research Forum, which incidentally is now reviewing policies of the Nassau County Police Department, and did a poll recently that showed that 74% of the minority community approves of the work that the police do, and 82% of the non-minority community approves of the work that police do.
What do you think
very
of
strong
those
numbers? I think they're very strong, but I also believe that there's always room for improvement.
So you got this union disagreement, which is a workplace and, you know, work rule issue, and those happen all the time. But the bigger issue is body cameras on cops. I mean, this changes the whole world of doing policing. What do you think of it in general?
Well, in general, I believe that it'll vindicate our police officers more often. You know, we deal with over 1 million contacts a year with the public, our police officers, our men and women, 1 million. And only about 700 people have a complaint against us each year. That's
this would help clear up some of
0.007
those complaints that we've seen so heavily publicized, do you think?
That's correct. It definitely would. You know, most of the complaints in Nassau County are about, you know, I didn't deserve the ticket, I didn't make the, you know, turns. So most of them are about, you know, I wasn't wrong in the accident and that kind of stuff. Very few are about excessive force.
So then there can be advantages for the officer. Do you think they're embracing this, though, or do they see it as something that's being forced upon them?
Well, like I just spoke about before, PERF, who the department has embraced to come in and review their policies and everything, PERF put out a report that stated that you should engage the union, you should engage your police officers to become part of the process and find out what their concerns are. And they haven't done that with us yet. And I think that's anything. You know, you put a camera on somebody And not only that, what's the privacy issues of going into someone's home? Do you need consent? You know, and I think that's what part of training. Are they going to do role play where you turn the camera on, you turn it off? One of the instances when you do that?
These are all big questions that need to be answered, and they're all good questions. And then there's the technology itself. You know, I think the idea we get is that, you know, the officer hits a button and everything's being recorded.
Right.
Is it that simple?
Well, you know what? I spoke with the Freeport president recently, and you know, he gave me a little demonstration. It wears in the pocket, and the camera's on the shoulder, and you got to hit it. So you got to hit it. It's inside your pocket. Now there's a beep that goes off to acknowledge that it's on. Imagine you're going into a house and you're looking for a burglary suspect, and you have to hit this. And now you hit a button that sends an alarm off, basically, that notifies
the burglar
where you
the
are.
police.
So that's
could create a confrontation.
So that's a safety issue. And if they do shut it, if they do turn off the alarm portion and you hit it, how do you know the camera's on? And then, if it's your discretion about when you can turn the camera on and when you can turn it off, are you going to be disciplined for using your discretion? And
yeah, because I can see that sometimes it's going to malfunction. And in fact, what is the track record of these cameras? I mean, we're in the broadcasting business. We see cameras malfunction. What is the track record of them? Has that been studied? And what would happen in cases where the officer says, oh, I forgot to turn the camera on? Those could become hot potatoes too.
Listen, they're all great questions that we have asked out loud and we have gotten no answers. You know, part of the process of trying to get someone to buy in, to get comfortable with this, is having a department sit down with the union of the police officers and trying to, you know, find out what their feelings are about this. And I think that's very important to move forward on a project. Again, you have PERF comes in and they want our police officers to sit down with PERF to see about the ethic problems that they think the police department has. So they're inviting us in on one hand to sit there and talk about ethics, but they don't want to talk to us about something that's important as body cameras.
Well, let's talk about, we have just 30 seconds though. You know, here you have body cameras. We've already had people backing away from broken windows policy, stop and frisk being ended. What do you think of all these revolutionary changes pretty much coming at once, changing the world of law enforcement?
Listen, we're an educated police department. Our officers are good, but they need to have training. Training is the backbone of what we do every day. If you don't have the proper training, you're not going to be able to utilize these tools correctly.
Is the bond between police and the community it serves broken?
I don't believe in Nassau County it is. Those numbers suggest that we have a strong relationship with every community in Nassau County.
All right, well, James Carver, president of the Nassau PBA, tussling with the county about pilot cameras that'll be coming soon to Nassau County. Thanks for taking on this topic with us.
Thank you.
And still to come for you.
That's what I consider a speed trap.
Speed zone controversy. Motorists questioning why there are several different limits on one stretch of highway. Is it a safety precaution or a speed trap?
We're just getting word into the WCBS newsroom.
Bill de Blasio is saying
Governor Chris Christie said today,
When you want the latest news,
the NYPD has stepped up security.
It was a dramatic end to the trial.
Still, the economy's uneven.
When you need traffic and weather together on the 8th.
Those delays are just stopped way back there.
Some rather intense weather this afternoon.
The radio home for CBS News in New York.
A federal judge in Washington ruled today.
When you need to know, we've got you covered. New York's News Radio, WCBS 880.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. I can never express enough support for the men and women who risk their lives for us. Every time you meet one, it's awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming to support us.
Absolutely. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Some of these people are going to be suffering for a long time, and we can't give up on them.
I'm just so choked up to be in their presence and to have an opportunity to really talk with them.
The least we can do is help them when they're down.
Within months of connecting with the Wounded Warrior Project, I'm just 100% different than what I was.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
There are so many challenges that they face and also the challenges that their families face.
For $19 a month, you give a family hope.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support.
Wounded Warrior Project is doing some of the best work when it comes to the military that anybody's going to come across.
Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
I think the need is great. I think people recognize that, but I think it may be greater than we even realize.
They've made huge sacrifices for us, and we need to sacrifice for them.
Please call or go online right now.
And welcome back. Fill state coffers or keep beachgoers safe. Drivers along Scenic Ocean Parkway on Long Island ask why speed limits just keep rising and falling even with radar guns in abundance. TV 1055's Jennifer McLogan explains.
Some call it the crown jewel of Long Island roads, historic Ocean Parkway, 16 miles along the South Shore from Jones Beach in Nassau County to Robert Moses and Captree State Parks in Suffolk. See that state trooper out there?
Yes, we did.
It does cause you to be aware and you do slow down, but the negatives are they will pull you over for going 1 mile over.
Some traveling to barrier beaches now questioning speed limit discrepancies, pointing out to us that most of the parkway is 55 but can quickly drop to 35. Is it a game of cat and mouse?
I think there should be like a slower change rather than 20 miles an hour, because that's what I consider a speed trap.
It's not fair for the drivers at all. You're coming down at a certain speed, all of a sudden it hits you like that.
Ocean Parkway goes through 4 towns, Hempstead, Oyster Bay, Babylon, and Islip, but it is maintained, owned, and enforced by New York State. Trooper Frank Bandiero says limits have been consistent through the years. Not a trick, not a speed trap.
No, it's to keep people safe, and you should be aware of the speed limit signs wherever you're driving, and especially here in the summer with the amount of traffic and distractions going on.
For one, ease off the accelerator approaching the Jones Beach Water Tower traffic circle. A radar gun may be waiting. That's because the circle's suggested speed is 20, a half mile away from the 55-mile-an-hour signs.
And all of a sudden I got pulled over, I would be a little confused.
There should definitely be a buffer zone.
But others like it just the way it is.
If it says 45, we do the 45. If it says 35, we do the 35. It's no big deal to us at all.
The state says limits are to encourage caution, not make money. From Ocean Parkway, Jennifer McLogan, TV 1055.
Now, the state tells us traffic safety engineers set speed limits, that according to nationally accepted guidelines. Now to a far different topic. It seems when women are unfaithful, it's seldom ever said that their genetics made them do it. Well, TV 1055's Dave Carlin reports on the controversial new research that could change that.
I think that monogamy works for some people and it doesn't work for others.
Powerful urges to cheat on a spouse or partner. Could they be in the genes? This kind, the building blocks of who we are. Some men maintain a primal desire to stray is hardwired in them biologically. Maybe women can claim the same.
Being married, she might want to just see what the thrill is like. Yeah, a lot of women cheat.
Are you speaking from personal experience?
I reserve comment.
Upper East Side resident Randy Lois Sacker says she doesn't kiss and tell, but thinks new research about women and cheating may have merit. The cheating study by the University of Queensland in Australia involved 7,400 participants. 10% of the men and 6% of the women admitted to having recent affairs. Researchers focused on the women cheaters, finding in some variations in what is sometimes referred to as the bonding hormone vasopressin. Scientists say that and how it works with the so-called trust hormone oxytocin just might explain a woman's natural inclination to stray. The researchers describe these results as preliminary, and no one is suggesting that this study be used by anyone, male or female, as an automatic hall pass to cheat.
I don't think there's a gene for that.
You just don't. You just think that's an excuse.
Right.
The statistics for women cheating are much higher than they used to be.
Relationship expert Emma Vellucci says unlike men, women who cheat are less likely to be simply chasing a thrill.
It's more about feeling alive, feeling special, feeling taken care of.
And here is her bottom line.
Cheating is never acceptable.
No matter the gender or the genetics. In Midtown, Dave Carlin, TV 1055.
Now, the scientists involved in the study say that the same vasopressin receptor gene appears to have no effect on promiscuity in men. And when we return, he stormed the beaches of Normandy. Now on the 71st anniversary of D-Day, a Long Island veteran looks back on the heroics of that day. That's next.
We're just getting word into the WCBS newsroom.
Bill de Blasio is saying
Governor Chris Christie said today,
when you want the latest news.
The NYPD has stepped up security.
It was a dramatic end to the trial.
Still, the economy is uneven. When you need traffic and weather together on the 8th.
Those delays are just stopped way back there.
Some rather intense weather this afternoon.
The radio home for CBS News in New York.
A federal judge in Washington ruled today.
When you need to know, we've got you covered. New York's News Radio, WCBS 880.
Each and every day, helpless animals are abused, and they're left to suffer in fear and pain. These innocent animals have endured some of the most horrendous conditions: starvation, needless cruelty, and neglect. It's hard to imagine such abuse, and it's even harder to watch. But we can't turn our backs on them, because no animal deserves to suffer like this, and they need our help now. These animals are broken, and the ASPCA is desperately trying to reach them, bring them into our care, and heal their wounds. But we can't do it without your support. All you have to do is go online or call this number now. For just $18 a month, that's only 60 cents a day. Here's what you'll provide: emergency medical treatments, food, shelter, and so much love. Please go online or call right now, and we'll send you the picture of an animal from our shelter. Sign up in the next 10 minutes, and you'll also receive this free ASPCA t-shirt. Your support is a lifeline and a second chance to the animals who have suffered so much. Please help us rescue them before it's too late. Go online or call with your monthly gift now.
Welcome back. This week we will mark the 71st anniversary of D-Day, June 6, 1944. That's when 500,000 soldiers stormed the beaches of France to launch the invasion that would soundly defeat Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, free a continent, and change the fortunes of the world. Well, this past week, a reenactment of the war's heroics brought together generations in appreciation.
At Republic Airport in Farmingdale, vintage fighter aircraft filled the ever-busy runway. Troopers boarded planes bound for bombing runs, even as tanks rolled into forward position. For the crowds enjoying this Memorial Day reenactment, the reality of combat quickly sunk in.
It's very moving to see all the equipment that the veterans used in their service to protect the freedom of the people of the world. It's like a little piece of history.
Many of those performing these roles are volunteer actors, and they do it for deeply personal reasons.
Well, both of my grandfathers were veterans of the Second World War, and they're not around anymore for me to ask questions.
Stacy Watson of North Belmore says acting out the part of a tank driver allows her to reconnect with her beloved grandparents' bravery. Fellow tank driver and reenactor Steve DeMeo says he can't imagine spending months under fire inside of one of these legendary Sherman tanks.
You live in it, and that's what they did during the war. Lived it and they died in it.
The aerial maneuvers of P-40 and P-47 fighters thrilled everyone, especially the many veterans.
It was an experience that I'll never forget, and proud to have served.
It's amazing just what they did to protect us.
So, a history lesson in the skies over Farmingdale on this sunny yet still somber holiday, paying tribute to those who did not make it safely back home.
And joining us now is someone who knows all about D-Day. That's because he was there. He signed up as a teenager, and just barely out of his teens, he stormed the beaches of Normandy. That is 91-year-old Jay Cutler, and welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you.
And you're a Valley Stream resident. We want to point that out. You know, here we are 71 years ago. What are your thoughts as you think back to that day? What was it like?
It was a pretty awful day. It was nothing you'd like to relive or even watch. I never even watched any of the shows that were about the invasion or the war.
Because you saw it firsthand.
I saw it firsthand, and when Saving Ryan came out, my wife said, "You're not going to go see that."
And you did.
And I didn't.
Well, like I said, because you lived it, you know, no movie can capture that, the drama of that day. I mean, what about, you know, you were part of the crew that was preparing. You were supposed to go the day before, right?
We started out on June 5th, and the weather was so bad that Eisenhower canceled it, and we went back.
And everybody's so worried about keeping it secret because the Germans are trying to figure out where were the Allies going to land.
Yes, we were really frightened because we had this huge armada on the channel waiting to go. There were thousands of ships, and we thought, how could they not see us and bomb us?
You're right. You were wondering how their patrols weren't able to detect, but they knew they were building up. They just didn't know where they were going to land in France. And then came June 6th when you went, and you knew that was going to be.
Yes.
You know what really struck me about your story, Jay, is that you actually stormed the beaches twice. Explain that.
Well, not actually. I started twice.
Yeah, explain that.
I went down the nets on the LSTs, which crossed us across the channel, got into the Higgins boat, and we started out to go in.
And what's it like as you're going in?
Well, we're kind of numb or whatever. We're just thinking nothing should happen, nothing should happen, nothing should happen.
But there's fire. They're firing on you all over the place.
We were just thinking, be safe. Anyway, the boat's got a leak, and we had to climb back up the nets with these 60-pound packs on our back.
You mean you had to go back to the boat?
We had to go back. We had to go back and wait for another landing boat.
So you had to go through that.
So then we had to go down again.
Terrifying experience of even preparing yourself to go do this that you knew was going to be so terrible.
Yeah. But,
what is the lesson you draw from that day and that you think generations now should gain? Because I know you've spoken out previously that you don't think that the history of the war is being properly taught to this next generation.
Well, that's what we thought, because there was thought about the regents not requiring history tests so the teachers wouldn't teach it. And then the story of, it would be all history, even going back to our revolution and the Civil War and World War I. The kids wouldn't even know it existed. It happened. And it's very important that they know the history of our country, everything that transpired to make it what it is.
How do you feel about what you did that day, almost 71 years ago now?
Well, I didn't like being in the Army, but I'm very proud of my service.
And we're very proud of you for it. What have you done with your life since then? Because you've lived many years since then.
Well, I tried a lot of things in the beginning to find my way, and eventually I wound up in a camera store. I started out as sales, but eventually I wound up as a purchasing manager.
Well, there you go. So a story of success of one of the brave soldiers who stormed the beaches in Normandy, not just once, but twice, having to go back and get another boat after the first one started leaking. 91-year-old Jay Cutler, thank you for your great service to our country and for being with us here today as we recall the days when the fate of the world stood in the balance. And we'll be right back.
We're just getting word into the WCBS newsroom.
Bill de Blasio is saying
Governor Chris Christie said today,
when you want the latest news,
the NYPD has stepped up security.
It was a dramatic end to the trial.
Still, the economy's uneven.
when you need traffic and weather together on the 8th.
Those delays are just stopped way back there.
Some rather intense weather this afternoon.
The radio home for CBS News in New York.
A federal judge in Washington ruled today.
When you need to know, we've got you covered. New York's News Radio, WCBS 880.
Every birthday for a Valerie Fun kid
is a victory,
a milestone,
a celebration.
On June 13th, we celebrate the 10th birthday of the Valerie Fun Walk
and JAG Physical Therapy 5K Run.
Walk with us or make a donation online
at thevaleriefund.org
and help us reach our goal of $1 million.
Together we can fight childhood cancer
and blood disorders.
One step at a time. One step at a time!
E-Class has 11 intelligent driver assist systems. It recognizes pedestrians and alerts you. Warns you about incoming cross-traffic. Cameras and radar detect dangers you don't. And it can even stop by itself. So in this crash test, one thing's missing. A crash. The 2015 E-Class. See your authorized dealer for exceptional offers through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services.
Sleepy's extended Memorial holiday prices are unbeatable. Get up to half off nearly every mattress in the store. Sealy, Serta, Beauty Rest, and more. With Sealy Queen sets starting at just $249 each piece. Save an extra $300 off select iSeries and iComfort. Save up to $1,000 off Serta adjustables. Plus, free delivery on Tempur-Pedic, Posturepedic, Hybrid, and more. So hurry into Sleepy's for up to half off throughout the store. Sleepy's, the only mattress professionals.
And finally, it's been 4.5 years since Rutgers football player Eric LeGrand suffered a severe spinal cord injury, but he always says there's a reason it happened to him so he could give hope to the hopeless. TV 1055, Otis Livingston sat down with LeGrand during one of his rehab sessions.
When I come around that corner and into the gym, you see all the therapists and all the people working. It's like you're walking into like an arena, kind of like.
Ever since that fateful October day in 2010, when Eric LeGrand was left paralyzed during a Rutgers football game, this has been his field of competition.
Pull, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
Rehabilitation 3 days a week at the Kessler Institute, working to regain his strength and ability to move to one day fulfill his dream of walking again.
That's what I've lived my 15 years of my life, and now going into therapy, it's like that same mindset. Work, work, work. My game day now are my victories and the things I'm regaining back, moving more shoulders, move my trunk. Those are my game day victories now.
LeGrand says he's working his butt off on a daily basis because he knows there are others in his situation, like Mikey Nichols, the recently paralyzed high school hockey player, who are inspired by him.
I don't take that for granted at all. You know, I want to be looked at when I leave this world as a hero, someone who never gave up on his goal. There's someone else in this.
This is breaking news.
And we are interrupting programming right now for breaking news out of Midtown. There's been a crane accident at 261 Madison Avenue. This is near 38th Street. Right now, let's show you a live picture of the building. Office of Emergency Management says there are at least 7 injuries, 5 of them minor, 2 of them moderate. An OEM spokesperson says workers were lifting a load when that load fell to the ground, hitting several buildings, including 261 Madison. It is believed the cable on that crane snapped. You can see what appears to be damage there to one of the top floors. 261 is a 28-story office building. We do have some other pictures where you can see debris on the ground on the street below, and the fire department that has responded in force. This happened around 11 o'clock this morning. Again, OEM says at least 7 people injured. We'll have some more information coming up for you. We also have a little bit of video right now from our crews that have gotten to the scene. You can see the crane there and the emergency response. We're told to expect, if you are traveling in this area, a lot of street closures. Again, this is Madison Avenue at 38th Street, where there was a crane accident that happened around 11 o'clock this morning. City officials are saying at least 7 people injured right now, 5 of them minor injuries, 2 of them moderate. They're working to figure out exactly how this happened. We will have more information throughout the day, and tonight on the news at 6:30. I'm Andrea Grimes. Right now, we return to regular programming.
This has been breaking news.
Go for broke. 2 broke girls coming 5 nights a week this fall.
Coming up today on Intelligence for Your Life, having a disagreement with our partner shows we care, as long as we argue the correct way. So we'll have tips from a couples therapist on the top 2 ways to argue correctly. Is it okay to fight back? And who should apologize first? Also today, sometimes it's impossible to pry yourself out of bed to go exercise or to hit the gym after work. So we'll share 2 science-backed tips to make it easy and fun, including the 7-minute solution. And then we'll have another edition of Which is Worse. This time it's the chicken Caesar salad versus the grilled chicken sandwich. And which do you think is worse, the reduced fat peanut butter or regular peanut butter? Get ready for your new and improved life. Intelligence for Your Life begins now. Welcome to Intelligence for Your Life. I'm John Tesh with Connie Selica and Gib Gerard. We're going to talk about noise here for a second. Traffic. We now know, according to Professor David Henry from the University of Sussex, traffic is exhausting and stressful.
Oh, yeah.
But even if we just hear it.
You mean if you have an apartment that's above a busy street?
See, but
Go ahead.
I like being like in the middle of Manhattan in a hotel room
Honking
and hearing
horns.
the horns. It's like music to my ears. I
think you get used to it, but I don't think it's ever music.
So he says it's any noise that we can't control, especially from machines. It sounds like Terminator, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, like you in your house.
Wait, stop for a second. Before you go after him again, can we please
come after me about something?
Can I please just get through this before you go after him again?
This is why.
Okay, so here it is. The screeching of a car in a parking lot, a truck beeping, backing up,
awful.
Hugely stressful. Even a fax machine or a vacuum. Again, David Henry from the University of Sussex, he wrote the book on A Human History of Sound and Listening. He says the best noise for our psyche, we have to do this, whether we get it from an app, is nature sounds like raindrops, wind in the trees, even footsteps and voices. Silence is also a big problem.
Yes.
Almost as complete silence can be almost as big a problem, stressful as those machines.
There's that really low dB room, the really low volume room. It's the quietest room in the world, and the longest anybody's ever been able to sit in that is 45 minutes because it's so